Alright, so this is how a totally badass 2AC is supposed to look to that 1NC that I put together. The order is competitiveness, warming, econ with the order of airpower, macro, industrial, and then I guess jobs or econ proper / dedev, and then the K. Yeah. Alright. Here we go. Not going for the competitors concede the U.S.-China war doesn't actually occur. Warming. Prefer Cook evidence over the Dvorsky evidence. A subpoints that it cites several experiments confirming warming via studies. B subpoints that it postdates their evidence by a year. And C subpoints that their evidence cites studies done in the 90s are cite studies that were done in 2000 with better technology. Also extend the Dietz and Stern evidence that warming is reversible. No contention to solvency. That's the Hayes 11 evidence. Plant solid CO2 levels means that we prevent warming, which also means no link to the impact turns because no melting wouldn't be able to occur. And also, warming causes extinction technology. Idea that we could adapt to 4 Celsius degree rise to dangerous global warming scale would mean human extinction. All the world's coastal plains would be lost. Much of the world's productive farmland and Earth's carrying capacity would be hugely reduced. Billions would undoubtedly die. Climate system is already experiencing significant feedback. Saying try to die warming makes extinction inevitable. Henderson 6. Scientific understanding increases the points of warming, leading human extinction. Security measures have not been in place to further emissions out of the atmosphere. We are looking at the end of extinction answer in this case in less than 15 years. Harrison 4. Climate change could result in nuclear conflict across the world. Abrupt climate change would bring countries to develop a nuclear threat. 2. The dwindling supplies of warfare would define human life, and warming outweighs nuclear war. Ace appointed certainty. Hansen and 7. There's a fundamental difference between the threat posed by climate change and most prior global threats. The nuclear standoff crisis could be precipitated. 1. The parties in contrast to the present threat to the planet requires only inaction in the face of danger. B support is magnitude 103. Should the nuclear exchange be limited, there will be survivors in the face of truly drastic climate flood. There will be no safe. There will be no place on Earth. And C subpoint is reversibility. Dumb point in 8. War has been considered the main threat to international security because a large number of deaths that causes climate change is potentially detrimental to human life. Climate change may be difficult to reverse. They say Russian economy, however, demographic shifts can make Russian economic decline inevitable, making stock and change the vibe. There is no one in the Russian double GDP demography will be serious economic limitation of growth, and the impact should have already happened. Russia already experienced massive economic crisis. Cody 98 unprecedented economic depression breaks banks help drove up Russian stock prices. Reluctant IMF bailout proved unsuccessful. Russia forced to suspend payment of the foreign debt for 90 days. Financial collapse produced political crisis. Domestic support evaporating had to contend with emboldened opposition in the parliament. They say proliferation, no arms, or races, nuclear weapons make force comparison today irrelevant. Once 95 new nuclear states are likely to decrease. Military spending, turn logic dominates competition, makes it nearly impossible for parties to achieve first-rate capability. Avoidance of total war depends on the absolute power of the hands on each. Force comparisons are irrelevant. Arms, races, then pointless. Econ not going for power or macro industrial will go for econ proper though. They say that econ decline causes war. However, not true. U.S. econ decline causes power vacuum, multiple nuclear wars, terrorism, and extinction. Wall Street Journal. And consequence of potential collapse of the world's financial architecture, foreign policy change, multiplying threat from Al Qaeda, Iran, North Korea, Pakistan, Afghanistan, American trust publicly will leave a dangerous power vacuum. Shades of the 1930s, democracies failed to cooperate. We run the risk of road states. They choose with reckless nuclear toys. The authoritarian leaders of these countries will seek diversion, divert attention from the internal deals with external advantages and economic upswings. Don't cause war. Your theory is flawed. Your own author's data proves this. It's the downswing that's finally chased down in 89. Disagreements about the relationship between warfare and the K-wave. Warfare is not likely to be severe during the upswing phase. His own model implies that warfare actually peaks in between the peak of the price cycle and production cycle. This kind of competition leads to pressure for the use of extra economic power that is a state power to protect or expand on market shares and investment opportunities in quick economic class. Ensures transitional conflict. Trainer in 2K. Last thing we want to collapse the system in immediate future. Hardly any of the hundreds of millions of people have any idea. The alternative, let's have the collapse a little bit later and causes extinction. Cathari in 82. Attempts the global economic reform leaded a world hacked by increasing turbulence, greater sense of insecurity, further tightening structural domination, domestic repression, producing intensification of old arms race, militarization regimes, encouraging regional conflagrations, and setting the stage for eventual global holocaust. And no mindset shifts leads Heinrich and 4. People with the power to command armies, economies, and governments have already made up their minds. Leads are people who have been selected for loyalty to the system. They are constitutionally incapable of questioning the fundamental assumptions, and this takes out your public mind shift. Heinrich and 4. If the movement were truly embraced, the elites will have a way to pounce the easiest PR takedown in the history of technology. Market will fix everything. The foolish notion that humans actually face ecological constraints would be thoroughly discredited based from serious conversation, politics, truth, and growth-driven policies that are inevitable and key to solve extinctions. A98 species will not choose to regress. Our need to grow is a genetically based predisposition. Turning back nor does anything mandates the human species must continue to exist. Humanity's future is conditioned by the imperative growth. In order to survive, the human race must grow, and dedev ensures environmental catastrophe. Loose 93, the radical movement threatens nature by advocating return to land would result in only accelerated destruction. Return to pre-industrial harmony would necessarily entail more than merely decimating human population. Would be an environmental catastrophe. If all Americans were to flee from metropolitan areas, world population would soar, and wildlife habitat would necessarily diminish. K. We'll start with we'll start with the alternative first. A few decides A subpoint is growth is good. That's all above. And B subpoint is warming on the planet is able to reduce CO2 levels. Micropolitical action wouldn't do anything. dedev proves that. Also perm do both, and also perm do the planet. The alternative all other instances. Also conditionality is bad. For A subpoint is 2AC times Q. We can't use our best offense against K. And B subpoint is moving target distorts predictability and turn link to policy making. And C point is infinitely regressive. Their interpretation justifies 14 conditional worlds and vote on fairness and education. Also dispo solves your offense, and neoliberalism solves global poverty ban down 1. Problems globalization must always be compared to what alternatives lower paying job with local firm or unemployment American multinational paying foreign citizens average 8.5 times per capita GDP despite the illusion of left-wing activists money falls from the sky. Poverty has been a normal condition in humankind throughout the most history. Capitalism what eliminating overwhelming form of poverty pre-industrial world policies that open economy strongly correlate with economic growth and these systemic impacts outweigh all get 98 deadliest form of violence poverty before the 19 million deaths a year caused by structural violence compared with about 100,000 deaths from armed conflict. Even if exchange cannot be compared with structural violence which continues year after year. After every 15 years, many people die because of relative poverty as we killed by the Nazi genocide or Jews over 6-year period. This equivalent ongoing, unending, accelerating through nuclear war, perpetuating the weak and poor every day throughout the world, and they don't offer a viable economic system. This is bad. A subpoint is illegit. Every system ordering the world has its disadvantage. They could defend communism, socialism, feudalism, or the absence of any economic system, but their refusal to defend anything makes justifying our methodology literally impossible. Voted for fairness, and B subpoints they doom solvency without a viable alternative system. There, critique one cause collapse in neoliberalism. Warning 98. The use of terms like capitalism is just that we can just wait for capitalism to collapse rather than figuring out what in the absent market will set prices and regulate distribution. The public has no interest in getting rid of capitalism until it's offered details about the alternatives. And on to neocolonialism, violence and evil are inevitable. Only the will to promote Western culture can solve extinction. Brooks and one of the next few years will be defined by conflict and violence that has come calling. We are living in a world in which hundreds of millions of people hate us, want to destroy the preserve the good people must exercise power over destructive people. It's no longer sufficient. Deconstruct ideas and text signifiers. We still have to act forcefully because our enemies are trying to destroy the base of civilization. We have to rely on institutions, government, the armed forces, FBI, CIA, CDC, and so on. Literary and academic liberals have built a whole moral system around powerlessness, sitting on their campuses, and they are powerless themselves and have embraced the delicious self-glorifying, identified as sages who alone can see through the evils of propaganda. Empire's the most awesome thing ever and solves all your impacts. Ignatius and 43 Empire and 93 and 3. Empire describes America as the only nation police the world, maintains a million arms on 4 continents, guarantees survival countries, drives the world of global trade, fills the hearts and minds of the entire planet, which dreams and desires imperialist action inevitable. That'll be in 2. The U.S. will be more reluctant imperialist. New imperial momentum has arrived. America's bound to play the leading role in question not whether the U.S. will seek to fill a void created by the demise of European armies, but whether it will acknowledge that this is what it's doing, and it's the failure to imperialize which allows genocide to occur and internally turns to terror evidence Putin 4 will continue to strongly be in U.S. intervention. Failed states continue constitute biggest threat to world peace. The U.S. has the resource to do anything about them. Even those who tested invasion in Iraq plead for the U.S. to bring order to place like for where genocide is occurred. U.S. cannot shrug off the burden of global leadership, at least not until without catastrophic cost to the entire world. Boom. So yeah, that's pretty much a really bomb 2AC to that. So yeah, do that.